Welcome, one and all, and welcome to our Ingathering. I'm the Reverend Doug Watkins. I am your interim lead minister. We would like to offer a special welcome to our guests, and I'll say more to you in just a moment. But this is an Ingathering service, and so welcome back to a new church year at Eliot Unitarian Chapel. Eliot Unitarian Chapel is a free religious congregation built by those who have committed themselves to living our mission, which is that we are bound in courageous love, growing in spirit, and inspiring compassionate action. Our core values are justice, equity, and compassion. We are a diverse community that strives to welcome all in the fullness of their age, gender, class, race, sexual orientation, religious background, and spiritual convictions. If you are visiting us for this first time, whether here in our sanctuary or online, we offer a very special welcome to you. I hope that your time with us feels meaningful and nurturing. You are warmly welcome to join us for the first time in a very long time for our coffee hour if you are here. And if you are not, at 12:30, yes, indeed, big return. And if you would prefer or you are not able to join us in person, join us at 12:30 for our Zoom coffee hour. If you are on site, I hope that you will take a moment to fill out one of our guest cards so that we can put you into our database and offer you emails, etc., to be able to get to know us better. And if you're joining us online, you can let us know you're here at welcome@eliotchapel.org. There's also an online guest book. So once again, we are glad you're here. As we move into our opening words, we remember Ingathering has a long tradition in Unitarian Universalism. On the first Sunday after Labor Day, many Unitarian Universalist congregations kick off the new congregational year with an Ingathering service. And there are many ways that this time is honored, but it almost always includes exploring themes like reunion, affirming our covenant, implicit and literal, that shapes how we will be together, the radical call of hospitality, returning home to a community that holds us, looking forward to the excitement of a new church year. So as I read our opening words, and then Jane lights our chalice, as drops of rain that find each other and build to become a track, a rivulet, a stream, a river, a sea, so we are drawn together. So we are fortunate to find each other. So we are bound together on this shared passage toward an unknown ocean. So Janet Parsons reminds us that this flame this morning is the symbol of the warmth and brightness of our connections. The flame lights our way back together again from our separate summer lives, lighting our way forward into this new church year of promise and renewal. I invite you to rise in all the ways that we do, and let's join our voices together in our opening hymn, 1028, Fire of Commitment.
Fire
Our congregation covenant is found in the order of service. I invite you to join me as we read it in unison. As a free congregation, we promise to one another our mutual trust and support. To create beloved community, we promise to be kinder to each other than we have to be. To listen fully to each other with an open mind and heart. To speak responsibly and respectfully. To find ways to improve our church for all members and friends. So, welcome everyone. It's good to be here together, and it's our first time doing a Time for All Ages together.
It is. I'm so excited.
I'm excited and a little nervous, actually. So,
don't be nervous. I'm so glad you're here in St. Louis. Welcome to this community. Welcome to this church.
Well, thank you.
So I don't know if you've had a chance to check it out or not, but see, Jennifer and I have lived here 20 years, so I definitely recommend my personal favorite, Busch Stadium. I've heard City Museum's pretty cool, especially the roof. I've never been up there, but I've heard it's cool. And there's this place called Ted Drew's for some really good yogurt. So if you have a chance, check it out.
Believe it or not, I have not yet, but I will very soon, absolutely. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, yeah, as you know, I moved here from Sarasota, Florida, and it was a big change, to say the least. But the welcome here and the warmth has made a huge difference, definitely. And so, I moved a lot of my stuff, which is pretty much set up in the apartment, and I moved a lot of my books, which are set up in the church office here. So it's coming along pretty well.
That's awesome. We're so glad you're here.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, the thing is, there are just a few last things that I usually bring right as I start the year. Some especially important things that I bring in a backpack.
Okay.
So, if you would help me out for a second.
Absolutely.
So the thing is that the things that I have in this backpack remind me of the most important things for me to remember. There is a lot to keep up with in a new place, a lot of new people to meet, a lot of new things to learn how to do, new order of service to get used to, and different words to say. And so it's important, the more that things change, to remember what sort of helps me remember the most essential things, the things that maybe don't change as much. So I have things in my backpack that kind of help me understand that and remember that.
Awesome.
Want me to show you some?
Oh, I'd love to. Would you all like to see what's in the backpack?
Well, it may not be that exciting, but yes, I'll absolutely show you. So, one of the first things that I always remember and look at is when I get to a new place, I have here a little collection of, hopefully it will not fall apart, of various photographs from a family and friends and congregations that I have served in the past. And the thing is that when I look at this, what it reminds me first and foremost is that all of those people in some way journey with me to these new places. It can feel a little lonely and overwhelming to come to a new place, but there is a way in which the people that you care about and the relationships that you have formed over the years stay with you. And just as importantly, I have learned things in those other places that I bring with me as well. And so one of the important things that it helps me remember is that I don't really do this alone, that I bring some of the relationship love with me, and I certainly bring the wisdom that I've learned from other people.
And Doug, I love the photo book. That's super cool. We take a lot of pictures here, too, at Eliot Chapel. There's some from RE and youth from last year. They're on the bulletin board right by the name tag stand. I encourage everyone to take a look at those. And there's also a big display case between the nursery and preschool room that have a lot of pictures and projects that kids have done over the years. So stop by and take a look, and we'll be sure to get you some photographs to add to that book the next few years.
Right, and the welcome photos that I received when I got here really helped me actually feel very welcome. And today we have a photo booth for you to do some special photos to welcome each other back to the new year. So that's just one thing, but another thing that I always carry with me is a lantern. And the thing is that a lot of my job is to come into a new place and look into murky places and shine a light in there and try to figure out what in the world is going on. And then to ask other people who are part of the congregation, do you understand what this is about? Do you know what happens in this part of the congregation? And how do you feel about that? How is it working for you? And so a big part of my job is to sort of shine a light on various things, but especially things that are confusing or maybe not very clear, to see if that light helps us understand it a little better. Just a couple more things that I always carry with me. So one of the other things that I carry is a mirror. And yes, I probably do need to check myself in the mirror often whenever I'm about to appear in public. But really the way I mostly use this mirror, at least in terms of understanding my work, is that a lot of my work is about really listening and really noticing what is happening in a congregation and reflecting it back to them. Acting sort of like a mirror. A lot of my job is to say, you know, this is what you've been telling me over and over again, or this is what you've been doing. How's that working for you? Is that what you want to be reflecting to a future minister or to a new person or to each other? And so a lot of my job is to help the congregation understand what I'm seeing. They may disagree with it. Great. We'll figure out why it is that it's being reflected. But it helps me understand you better, and also, I hope, helps you understand yourself as well. And then the last thing that I carry with you that is actually very hard to see, and I can hope that I can actually find it in here. It's so tiny. There it is. Oh, and then I lost it again. Okay, so what is that, Scott?
That looks like a compass.
Yes, this is a really tiny compass. And this was given to me by a woodworker in one of the last congregations that I served. And so it reminds me that a lot of my work is also to help the congregation understand how to navigate through times of change. And, you know, it used to be the case that you would use not only a compass, but you would use things that don't change, like stars, as a way of navigating and understanding where you are. Well, part of what I help a congregation do is identify the things that don't change so much, some of the values, some of the stories that are a part of your history that remain with you, and understanding how to use those to help you navigate through times of change, and use that as a way of having a sense of stability and direction when you need it most. So,
wow.
Those are the things that I bring. And the main thing is, though, all of them tend to remind me that most of my work is really helping the congregation explore who they are and decide what they want to do in the next 2 years to prepare themselves for the future. Because in 2 years, I'll move on again. And so this is a chance for me to use this time well to help all of you understand yourselves better and then see what it is you want to do as you move forward into your future.
Wow, that's awesome, Doug. And we're so glad to have you here to guide us through these things with these items. What can we do, all of us, to help you?
Well, you definitely have been very welcoming and very helpful in letting me get to know the place and get to know you better. And I've talked with many of you already. And the main thing that you can do is you can really engage this year. A lot of people have this sense that an interim year is sort of an on-hold year. It really isn't. It's a year with a lot of work. And the essence of that work is helping everyone that's a part of this congregation explore who they are, what they want to be in the future, and start building that future now. So do the work with me, and that's the most important thing.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I will take the backpack, and I think it's time for us to sing the kids out, right?
It is. So, children and youth, we will start RE in approximately 19 and a half seconds. You can exit through the back. I will meet you there. I will meet you there.
As we move into a time of meditation, I invite you to take just a moment to get yourself centered in your seat, to find a way to be seated that feels grounded and allows you just for a few moments to be at rest, but also fully present here. I begin our time of reflection with words that have been used often in various congregations on this day, written by Patricia Shetty. You and I, and all of us, blew about with the winds of summer, following the sun in different ways of freedom and play, finding rest in the cool stillness of shadows, and moving to the slow, heart-struck rhythms which turn the long hours of summer light. And now is the time for gathering in. We have come together at this time and in this place on the bridge of autumn. And while summer is not quite gone, we definitely can feel a change in the air. And we can feel a change in the air in our midst as well. There are many ways that we might meet that change. But as we gather here on this day, may we seek to meet it with eagerness and delight, knowing that we need one another for sharing. We have joys and sorrows and hopes to share, questions to explore, things that we care about and want to help make better, things we would like to understand, and ideas waiting to be heard. Today, we are together in a community of gladness. Once more, the special community that we call our congregation, a community of all ages that sings its songs, tells its stories, asks questions, and searches together with courage and love. But just for a moment, as we are on the cusp of moving into this new season, let's not leave all of summer behind. May you for a moment reflect on what your own winds of summer brought your way. It is likely to be many things, but often seasons of our lives have themes that bubble to the surface, shaped by the realities that we face. And often, if we think in the big sense, there may be some common strands to this season's experience. For me, the summer was a time of hellos and goodbyes, some wonderful moments of connecting to folk in my life and meeting new people, some moments of gratitude at goodbyes coming to the fruition of a journey completed, some farewells that were sad but necessary. For me, the essence of this summer was a time of goodbye and hello. What, I wonder, was the essence of your summer? If there was a word or a phrase that captures some of this truth, for you, what would it be? At its best, Ingathering honors one essential truth of our community, that all that we experience in our lives is part of the gift and the truth that we bring to community. So what is the gift, whether it is easy or complicated, full of life or full of mystery? What gift do you bring with you from your summer experience? May that question continue to bubble in your mind as we continue through the service. For a moment, may we rest, remaining seated as we join in our meditative hymn, Gathered Here. In all of our contemplating, singing, breathing together, may there be blessing. We move now towards our time of offering, and every Sunday, Eliot Chapel shares half of the offertory with an organization in the community whose work reflects our shared values. This is one way that we care for our community and our neighbors. In September, we will be sharing our Sunday collections with Southside Early Childhood Center, an organization that Eliot Chapel has long supported. Way back in 1866, 15 courageous Unitarian women took a stand for the most impoverished children in St. Louis. These women founded a day nursery with a mission to prevent pauperism by assisting breadwinners with young children on their hands to earn an honest living. Southside Day Nursery, as it was known then, welcomed children of every race, ethnicity, and economic level. And over the decades, the Southside has grown and its mission has expanded. Today, its mission is to nurture and educate and inspire children and families in a diverse and inclusive environment, promoting healthy development and a strong foundation for success. Their vision is that a child develops a lifelong love of learning, flourishes within a supportive family environment, and contributes positively to their communities. May we find a way to continue our generosity this month in supporting their essential work. The offering will now be given and received in a spirit of generosity. Let us be good neighbors. Let us be generous people. Now, as our greeters bring forth our offering, will you join me in blessing and dedicating this offering with the dedication words found in your order of service? To the work of the church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings. Thanks to all of you. Thank you for your generosity. Our reading is taken from the writing of Unitarian Universalist minister Marta I. Valentin. And it is sort of a play on the word "ingatherings," separating it out again to the title, "In Gatherings." In gatherings, we are stirred like the leaves of the fall season, rustling around sacred trees, tossed hither and yon until we come to rest together quietly, softly. We come to gather strength from each other. We come to give strength to each other. We come to ask for strength from the Spirit of all that is and is not. When our hearts sing and when they frown, it is the way of compassion telling us to give. It is the way of peace telling us to share our gifts. For we are happiest and most powerful when love is made apparent in us and through us. Spirit of that circle that is love, as we twirl in this dance that is life, we give thanks for reminding us each day of our task of ministering to each other with a searching glance, a safe touch, a smile, a thoughtful word. Thank you for reminding us that we are always building our beloved comunidad. Thank you for reminding us that through our covenant, we covenant with each other and are made whole. That is, we promise through love to be together in a way that is supportive and real. So we celebrate the open heart and mind. We discover who we are, separate from each other and within one another. In this circle that holds all life, may we ever work toward widening its boundaries until there are none. Here ends our reading. Thank you, choir and Adam. So as we move into a new church year and more fully into a new month, we continue to explore the theme of belonging. One of the things that I always do as part of my interim time is to help the congregation into thinking about how to make our themes even more meaningful for all of us. There are a lot of reasons why I do that. I think that there's a certain power to the themes, but one of the main reasons that I always emphasize it with each new congregation is that out of the now 5 congregations that I've assisted in their search, all of them have called ministers that want to continue to do theme ministry as part of their work. And so the more that we have explored how to do that well together, or at least understand it more deeply, the better suited we are to be able to have a full conversation with your future minister about that work. And so one of the things that I often try to do is to introduce the theme. And when I introduce it, I look for the place of greatest resonance in how I understand the theme more personally. How has it been at work in my life most meaningfully? And what surprised me is that belonging has been such an essential part of my journey into Unitarian Universalism right from the very beginning. And the different things that belonging has asked of me is actually a perfect laboratory in the various components of belonging that are so essential in our lives. That exploration of belonging began most dramatically back in theological school. I decided to be a minister way back in junior high school, of all the strange things to decide in junior high. And I will admit that when I was in high school, I was that kid that people would come up and say, "I can't imagine you ever being a minister, Doug." And I chose to think of that as probably a good thing in this instance, but I'm sure that part of what they meant was there's a certain sort of piousness that we don't see in you, Doug. I was okay with that. The thing is that when I went off to theological school, I took enough classes that first year that at the beginning of the second year, which unfortunately is hardly halfway, I qualified to do a mid-program review, which really just consisted of one thing. You had to write a theology paper on your understanding of your ministry and present it in front of a group of your peers and a couple of professors. They weren't there to give you an up or down about your thoughts about ministry. They were there to reflect to you whether you were able to speak to your ministry clearly, articulate fully why you wanted to be a minister, and then give you some feedback about how maybe to bring greater clarity. And I was very nervous about doing this. I attended a very diverse theological school, but still, most of my colleagues, to me, felt like they were in a different place theologically. And so I tried my best to be honest, but to write in a way that I hoped would invite them to read my words in a more accepting way, which now as I think about it, sounds like a pretty foolish way to move forward into any kind of ministry. But when that day came about, I was lucky that everyone on that panel, both peer and professor alike, were people that I respected. And so when we got to my turn to reflect on my paper, there was a big moment of silence. And one of the two professors said, "You know, Doug, it is a very, very good paper. We think it is very clear and incredibly well put together. But the thing is, I find myself thinking," and he paused for just a moment. And in that moment, another one of my colleagues, actually one of my best friends in seminary, said simply, "Doug, you haven't got a chance in hell in any Christian church we know of. And she was so right. And what a gift it was in that moment to have people that I trusted just say, maybe a little too plainly, but with deep respect and love, maybe your journey was in the wrong direction. And so, when I was in high school, I had gone to a Unitarian church because I had participated in the anti-nuclear movement, and all of those meetings were held there. And I remembered I was fascinated by what I saw in that place, and especially when I would walk by the wall of name tags. Almost every really interesting, really smart, really dynamic person in my community, their name was somewhere in those name tags. So, the next Sunday, after doing some research, I stepped inside of a Unitarian Universalist congregation for the first time, and it felt like such a gift. I've heard you say very similar things again and again, to sing hymns where I didn't necessarily have to read way ahead to make sure that I could actually sing what the next stanza had to say. To be able to explore not only my own understanding, but help other people explore their understanding of what it means to be more fully true to themselves, more fully engaged in a spiritual journey that feels authentic. The thing is that when I decided to be a minister, I had become comfortable with coming out of the closet as being an openly gay man and went right back into another closet by not being willing to be honest fully about what I believed. And the Unitarian Universalist Church invited me to do that. So in one way, belonging over and over again asks us to explore deeply and authentically who we are and to understand just how important that is. Adrienne Marie Brown wrote this: belonging doesn't begin with other people accepting us. It begins with our acceptance of ourselves, of the particular life and skin each of us was born into, and the work that that particular birth entails. From that deep place of belonging to ourselves, we can understand that we are inherently worthy of each other, even when we make mistakes, harm each other, lose our way. We are worthy. And so I believe there is something very deeply true about that. That one of the first things we must do to belong to anything is to come from a place that is open enough to offer our true selves in relationship. Otherwise, there's always that fear that is holding us back from really being present, from really daring to fully engage. So, one of the things we'll invite you to explore this month is how are you doing in the authenticity that you offer in your life? How is it helping you feel that you belong more fully and that your life is leading you in the way it must? But in truth, as much as I loved week after week hearing these wonderful words and exploring these ideas, so much of it was focused on me. So when I went to serve for the first time in my internship, I found that there was another important component to belonging. That I was called, if I really wanted to continue to belong, to offer that gift to other people. Jan Richardson writes this, and it really could be a description very much of my experience. She writes, "You hardly knew how hungry you were to receive the welcome that invited you to enter entirely. But this blessing will ask you to leave because it desires for you to become the sanctuary that you have found." What I found to be true is that at some point in our journey, whatever our role in the congregation, if it is always only about the way in which we belong, that begins to ring in a much more shallow and false way than the truth that we always need the dynamic give and take with other people, one. But also, the reason that I was able to really feel like I belonged, first in the Disciples of Christ church that I went to as a kid, and then in Unitarian Universalist congregations, is that we offered each other the space to bring our true selves. And we honored that truth and supported and encouraged it in each other. Without that interplay, we are not fully doing the work that we are called to do. So, in this month, we also will invite you to think about how it is that you are a part of creating that sanctuary, that safe space that allows people to bring their authentic self and to delve into it with greater depth and find their more full way of living the life they were called to live. Important work, life-giving work that will give you life as you help other people do it in their own lives. But it also, always belonging, asks us to go between that returning to who we actually are and understanding if we still are in right relationship with the way that we continue to grow and learn about ourselves. And also always returning to the world and from that deeper, more honest, more courageous self, helping the world be more truly itself as well. But it will not always be easy. And there will be times where that authenticity doesn't in the moment feel so much like we are connected. It can feel lonely. Or many of us go through long periods of time where we feel disconnected. So Reverend Krista will explore next week the importance of belonging and how it interplays with loneliness. But as I have over the years served congregations, there's also a third way that belonging has more and more become a part of my understanding of the gift that this journey with you has offered. As I began to be an interim, and every 2 years I would pack everything I owned and move to a new place and begin to explore a new congregation and a new town and meet new people, it really began to raise the question of what does it mean to belong to something that is larger than myself, that is larger than any particular moment. What does it mean to belong to the largest sense of the world, to belong to the world itself, to the universe, to all that is? Is that not a way that whatever changes that happen in our lives, we may engage more deeply with what is in front of us, where we are now, how we understand ourselves in the moment? The larger our sense of belonging, the more that calling has integrity, the more that the changes of the world will be for us just a new opportunity to connect and not so much an upheaval. And so I've been working on what that looks like. I found that David Blanchard helped me understand some of that in this way. When David Blanchard, who is a Unitarian Universalist minister, went on sabbatical, he went to East Africa. And he spent some time with a tribe that believes that when a child is born, they are born with their own song that they will carry with them throughout their lives. And so they believed that by opening themselves up to relationship with that child and in important moments singing their best sense of what that song might sound like when the child was ill, when the child was trying to get to sleep, when the child fell in love and entered into marriage, when the adult's last breath was taken. The tribe would sing their version of the song. Now, you might wonder, well, that's their sense of that person's song that they carry. But the thing is, that is always a part of our song. We find our own song as much in what happens around us in the world, as is always true of singing. The space that we are in changes the song. The place that we are in that moment changes how we connect with the music. The way that our body in that day carries the melody, all of it continues to transform it. And yet it is still the song that we sing. It still speaks to us of our lives. And so in this month, we invite you to think about how the song of your life is being transformed. How in the way that as you get to know people, as you encounter them more fully, as this world changes, that as it should be, it transforms your song into something newer and more responsive and fuller. So, as we move into this month, as we are in this time, this new era in the pandemic, when we explore what it means to be community now and belong to each other, as we think about what it means to be a country now with all of its complications, how is that song still a song of love? How is it still a song of life? Blanchard concludes this: all of these songs can be heard as a song of love or longing, a song of encouragement or of comfort or struggle or security, but most of all, they are songs of our life, giving testimony to what has been, giving praise to all we've given, giving hope to all we strive for, giving voice to the great mystery that carries each of us in and out of this world. What will that love song sound like as we journey into this very exciting but also very complicated year? How will we make it a song that we sing together, each in our own way? How will we help our shared life give us greater life and then share it with the world? That is what we explore in these 2 years. That is our journey together. I look forward to entering into it more fully in the coming months with you. I invite you to rise in the ways that you will and do, and join me in our closing hymn, hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us. now, as we get ready to move from this space into coffee hour, I invite you to journey with me into that space in love. I also invite you to take a moment as you are greeting new people around you, maybe to share with each other a little bit about what this summer has offered you as you come back into this time. And now, as I prepare to extinguish the chalice, may we remember that the light that we create together is never extinguished. We cannot extinguish the light of wisdom. We cannot extinguish the power of our commitment to what matters deeply in our lives. We can never extinguish the power of love and the warmth of community. These will remain as we gather together and as we live our lives fully. And in the midst of the new things today, I have no idea where the snuffer is, so I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. I extinguish this chalice, but not that light. Join me in coffee hour, and thank you for being here.